As he said, we go way back, and I don't know if you know this, but Mark actually ran for the town board in Brookhaven, and now he does, as a side gig, stand-up comedy, which is probably pretty much about the same if he ended up on the town board. But I really appreciate this, and the first time I've ever won an award like this, and I just wanted to say that it's the first time I've ever given a speech like this as well. And it makes me think back. I used to work for Senator Ken Laval. A lot of people may remember Ken. And he sent me back to my old high school, Senator Merich's, for the retirement party for Clayton Huey. I was in that school with him. He was my principal through K through 12. They named the elementary school after him. And it was his retirement party, and I had to give a proclamation. So I memorized a nice speech. I went up there, and I got up, and there was Superintendent Huey, his whole family, his daughter Laura, who I went through school K through 12 and college, so 17 years with Laura in school. All my teachers were there. And I got up there, and I froze. Looked around the room. Clayton Huey was looking at me. All my teachers are like, oh my God, what did we produce? And I finally got my wits, and I gave my little presentation. And oddly enough, Newsday did a story about it, and the only quote that they used from the event was my quote, something about his booming voice, keeping all the kids in line. And I just wanted to mention that because that's why, ladies and gentlemen, I always bring notes when I do a speech from now on. I'm probably one of the few people who started out this business with a manual typewriter. Some of the younger people probably have never seen a typewriter. And oddly enough, when I went to college, I went to Oswego State University, actually graduated from there on a Friday, went right into the business I worked for, as Mark mentioned, Suffolk Life newspaper, that Monday. But my typewriter, incredibly, was a script typewriter, and the only ribbon, the only ink I had was red. So I went to school, had an internship with the Oswego Messenger, and I handed in my first story on a red ink on a scripto typewriter. The editor thought I was nuts. So as I mentioned, I was at Suffolk Life newspaper. I worked very closely with a gentleman, Peter Scully. You may follow, I know Mark knows him. He rose up pretty rapidly through the ranks. He became the deputy county executive. And when I first got there, he did a story about the famous Peconic duck, which is a big duck statue in Flanders. You've probably seen it. And he did a story about it. And they put a picture on the front page, and instead of the I in duck, instead of the U in duck, it was an I. So it's a gigantic representation of the famous Long Island delicacy, the big duck. We had a lot of fun over there. Peter Scully and I graduated to an electric typewriter from my manual, and we used to type out the stories on newsprint. So you'd unroll these huge stories, and if you made a mistake, you just retyped it and cut it out with scissors and taped in the new piece. So I was working on a story, and I went to the bathroom. I came back, and I didn't notice that Scully had changed the quote to, the supervisor said the enema was needed. I didn't notice it. That went into the editor, and got in a little trouble for that. So I pretty much moved up in my career from a script typewriter to an electric typewriter, and then we had the computer at Suffolk Life newspaper. Then we went to laptop, and then now I do everything on my cell phone, which I can do from anywhere. My news editor is here, so don't tell him the meaning of anywhere, which also means the beach. So if you could work at your job on your cell phone from the beach, I think you got it made. Stefan Mihailu, he's the news director of the South Shore Press, where I am now. And some of my colleagues, Tom Barton, the sports editor, and Mike Reichstetter is here. He's one of my fellow reporters, and I really appreciate you guys being here. I just wanted to mention I had spent talk about the importance of PR. You know, they call us hacks and flacks and PR people and all that. And I had worked for a number of years with Supervisor Henrietta Acampora in the town of Brookhaven. I know that Mark remembers her. And when she passed away, they had a Newsday article, and they had four of her most famous quotes. And it turns out I had written two of them. And one of them had to do with the death penalty. Way back, the state legislature would approve the death penalty, and the governor would veto it. And they fell one vote short of overriding the veto, and it came down to one legislator, Earlene Hill from Queens. So we had Henrietta put a little pressure on Earlene. A man was murdered in the town of Brookhaven, and the fellow who killed him had been in jail on a murder rap, and he served his time, and they let him out. So we brought Henrietta to the prison in Riverhead with the grieving family, and the famous quote was, well, if we had the death penalty in New York, we wouldn't be here right now with the grieving family. So I think the death penalty did pass after that, but then they repealed it. So I just want to close with a story. Dan Panico, who's now the supervisor of Brookhaven Town, I actually had done some campaign training with him way back when he first started, and he became the town supervisor, and he had his inauguration. So they did a big swearing-in ceremony at Town Hall, and I went and covered it. And the first thing that he said, and I wrote about it, I thought it was quite remarkable. The first issue that he brought up was about Ho-Hum Beach in the village of Belport. And the issue was the village owned the beach, and in Dan Panico's contention, they didn't let the black children from northern Belport go to the beach. So he had a press conference, and he brought us over there by boat. I actually met there and interviewed a black family. You know, they said they felt a little bit uncomfortable, but they were welcomed to the beach by the town. The village fought it a little bit. So I wrote, if you live south of the tracks in the community of Belport, you can go to the village beach. If you live north of the tracks, you cannot. It's an issue of inequality, said Brookhaven Supervisor Dan Panico, who made it a major concern of his administration. So about 4 days after I won this award from the PRLI, I got a call from the New York Press Association. And that story became the story of the year in the state of New York. So I won an award for that. So, yeah, thank you. So in the short spread of 4 days, I never won an award before, and I won those two. So thank you very much. If you have time for one more, I just can't resist. So I just did a story about Gene Gerard, former councilman. Mark knew him. He hit 103. So everybody here, I'm 64, so if I hit 103, boy, I'd be happy with an extra 40 some odd years. But we had a press conference. The Brookhaven National Lab did an aerial survey to see if there's any radioactivity in the area that may have escaped from the lab. And sure enough, in the hamlet of Moriches, they found some radioactivity. So we got a hold of a Geiger counter and went over there and had a press conference about urging the federal government, to clean up this nuclear mess. So all the press was there. That was back in the day when you had Channel 2, Channel 4, Channel 5, Channel 7, Channel 11, News 12, Channel 55, Newsday, Long Island Press, Suffolk Life. They were all there. So we gathered around, gave him the little spiel about, radioactivity, and he turned on the Geiger counter, and he was walking towards the spot, and all the press was following him, and the Geiger counter was going click, click, and then when it got close, it was like click, 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 and it was like going off the charts. And everybody went running. So I think that was pretty funny. Anyway, yeah, I appreciate the award. Thank you.